Okay, let's get one thing clear right away before we start the video. My criticism of Star Wars doesn't come from hate, it comes from care. Nobody argues this hard about something they don't love. Star Wars shaped childhoods, it taught morality without preaching, it showed us that evil isn't born, it's chosen. So when Star Wars stumbles, fans feel it personally. My video today isn't about insults. It's not about online culture wars. It's about creative consequences. And we're going to talk about 5 negative things Kathleen Kennedy brought to Star Wars, 5 negative things Dave Filoni, yes, even Dave Filoni has contributed, and why, despite their talents and intentions, Star Wars ultimately should have remained with George Lucas. This isn't about saying everything is bad now. It's about understanding why Star Wars feels different and fractured today. Kathleen Kennedy is an accomplished producer. That's not in question. Problem isn't competence. The problem is creative stewardship. The biggest issue under Kathleen Kennedy isn't any one movie. It's inconsistency. Under George Lucas, you always knew whose story you were watching. Every trilogy pushed toward a clear thematic goal. Under Kathleen Kennedy, directors contradict each other, films undo previous films, storylines shift based on reaction, not intention. The sequel trilogy is the clearest example. Each movie feels like a response to the last, not a continuation. That's not how mythology works. Star Wars stopped feeling like a saga and started feeling like damage control. Star Wars used to challenge audiences, now it often reacts to them. Fan backlash changes story direction. Online discourse reshapes creative choices. Themes are softened to avoid controversy. This creates a franchise afraid of committing. Great mythological stories don't ask permission, they declare meaning. Under Kennedy, Star Wars began chasing approval instead of purpose. Luke Skywalker is the clearest casualty here. Under George Lucas, Luke symbolized hope, redemption, and the belief that people can change. In modern Star Wars, legacy characters often exist to be subverted, be deconstructed, or be replaced rather than built upon. Subversion isn't automatically smart. When you dismantle symbols without rebuilding them, you weaken the myth, and Star Wars runs on myth. Even when projects are good, many feel engineered rather than inspired. Stories designed for spin-offs, characters created with merch in mind, eras stretched thin instead of explored deeply. Star Wars became a content pipeline. George Lucas treated Star Wars like a personal expression, even when it cost him public approval. Under corporate oversight, risk became strategic instead of emotional, and you can feel that difference. This might be the most important point. George Lucas reportedly had sequel outlines. They weren't used. Instead of evolving Lucas's idea, Lucasfilm chose to start over. That decision severed Star Wars from its philosophical foundation. You can argue whether Lucas's sequel ideas were good or bad, but ignoring them entirely ensured Star Wars lost its narrative spine. This is where things can get uncomfortable because Dave Filoni gets Star Wars, but even people who understand something deeply can unintentionally hurt it. Filoni loves Star Wars, sometimes a little too much. Modern Star Wars increasingly feels like callbacks, Easter eggs, lore deep cuts meant for hardcore fans. Instead of stories that stand alone, we get stories that reward homework. Star Wars used to be accessible myth, now it sometimes feels like a closed loop. Mythology should invite newcomers, not quiz them. Everything is connected now, same characters, same bloodlines, same conflicts. The Star Wars galaxy is supposed to feel endless. Instead, it feels like a handful of families, a few recurring villains, the same 30-year window being stretched thin. Filoni didn't cause this alone, but his storytelling often reinforces it. The galaxy got smaller when it should have expanded. Ahsoka is a great character, but she's becoming too central. She appears across multiple eras, multiple conflicts, multiple mythological roles. At a certain point, a character stops feeling organic and starts feeling indispensable. George Lucas killed characters. He let stories end. Filoni struggles to let go, and Star Wars needs endings to have weight. Under Lucas, the Force was spiritual, moral, and philosophical. Under Filoni, it often becomes mystical without structure, symbolic without consequence. World Between Worlds is a great concept, but it opens doors Star Wars never needed opened. When myth becomes too flexible, stakes disappear. The Force works best when it has rules, even tragic ones. It might sound strange, but it's critical. George Lucas moved on. New eras, new styles, new themes. Filoni often reinforces nostalgia instead of challenging it. He preserves Star Wars rather than reinventing it. That keeps fans comfortable, but mythology isn't supposed to be comfortable. Here's the core truth. Kathleen Kennedy manages Star Wars. Dave Filoni protects Star Wars. But George Lucas was Star Wars. Star Wars isn't about winning. It's about failing, then choosing to do better. The Jedi failed. The Republic failed. Anakin failed. That failure was the point. Modern Star Wars often tries to course correct instead of confront failure. Lucas leaned into it. This is crucial. Lucas portrayed the Jedi as flawed on purpose. Modern Star Wars either glorifies them again or tears them down completely. Lucas lived in the uncomfortable middle. That nuance is missing. George Lucas didn't care if you liked his choices. He cared if they meant something. That confidence is rare and necessary for myth-making. Everything Lucas did had an endpoint. Modern Star Wars often feels endless. Stories that never end stop meaning anything. This is the heart of it. Star Wars wasn't content, it was confession. It was about fear, power, letting go. When Star Wars stopped being personal, it stopped being singular. So, Kathleen Kennedy isn't evil, Dave Filoni isn't overrated, but Star Wars lost its center when George Lucas stepped away. Not because others are untalented, but because mythology needs an author. Star Wars doesn't need more content, it needs conviction, and conviction only comes from ownership. If you're enjoying my content, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. We'd love to see you. And I have 5 levels of membership if you would like to join and see some extra content. And if you haven't seen it, you should check out my latest video. It's really awesome because I made it. And remember, the Force will be with you always.